Day 593. It's 15 minutes to midnight. Osama's dead?
I'm on a roller coaster in my mind.
Day
754.
Day primarily just the philosophical.
Well, I don't think there are any.
You could actually just
Be
We need
nice.
to reassess our priorities a little bit and pay more attention to what we really need to know.
good text.
Really interesting, fun, because I enjoy exploring. So, hi Monica. I love you.
Slide scale of fear and love.
At least know that we're my prediction for mankind is that we would be the cockroaches of the universe.
Osama bin Laden reported dead. Interesting. Sorry if I'm a little behind in my days. I've been out of it medically. I'm not going to go into the details, but I will talk about Osama bin Laden. Hello. I'm not going to apply my four rules because at this point the story is just a little too big for me to fully report, and I have a few thoughts on it alone, and I think that's going to take up all my time. I just want to start by saying whatever news you get usually comes filtered to you by media, right? Okay, we have our mainstream media that is corporately controlled and has its own political agendas. If you do your homework enough, if you actually seek out information instead of allowing the information to filter to you, you will actually find out some very interesting information, and you will be more well informed. So this at least fits in the be in the know category. So with that said, and the Osama bin Laden story all going on, I wanted to mention the alternativenews.net as a good starting point for finding alternative news. If you go to www.alternativenews.net, you can find a wealth of information. It's a little daunting at first. There's a lot of stuff on here. If you're new to the whole alternative news thing, I would say take it slow. There's a lot of stuff out there. And again, just because you read it on the web doesn't necessarily mean it's true, but at least you're making an effort to find information. That's the important part here we need to remember. One of the main ones that a lot of people seem to call out is the alternet.org. That's a good one to seek out. Brought up their website here. I'd just like to point out that at least on these sites, they're not corporately funded. They're generally privately funded by people who just want to give information. They usually are very low budget sites, so they're not going to look flashy like the big news sites. But this is actually kind of a good thing. If you're having to filter through a little bit more, it means that you're actually actively looking for information. Okay? This is a good thing. It takes a little extra work to be well informed. One of the things I came across was Jesse Ventura's website and his thoughts on the killing of Osama bin Laden. I'm just going to read this quote exactly as he wrote it. It's a short little blurb. It says, "I commend the bravery and courage of the SEAL team members for completing their mission. However, while bin Laden was a disreputable terrorist responsible for the bombings of the USS Cole and our embassies, let us not forget that Osama bin Laden has never been officially charged or indicted by the Justice Department for the attacks on 9/11. Everyone deserves their day in court, and you are innocent until proven guilty under our rule of law. What troubles me is that we executed him without even bothering to indict him first. If we are a country that stands by the rule of law, then we must follow it, even when it is inconvenient. Because a country that does not stand for its own rules stands for nothing." Jesse Ventura. The assassination aside, he has a very valid point. We're not even obeying our own laws. We're rampantly assassinating people that we're attaching to terrorism without our own legal system working at all. Just a CIA strike force, bam, killing. Okay, that's that story.
All right, now given that I've had time for this story to sort of simmer a little bit, and I've been able to read a lot of what's been said over the last few days, there's a bunch of stuff written on the fact that the government has been trying to explain their story of how Osama was killed. And there's several different articles on whatreallyhappened.com under this section of Osama bin Laden, and how a lot of the videos that came out recently about him watching himself on television, and how that's not necessarily proving anything. Okay. Media scrambles as bin Laden's story crumbles. While the establishment media was busy parroting President Obama's announcement of Osama bin Laden's supposed assassination, reporting the unsubstantiated claims as if they were unquestionable facts, much of the so-called alternative press was far more cautious, and accurate as it turns out. But more importantly, with the new official storyline indicating that bin Laden was in fact unarmed, bigger and much more important questions are beginning to emerge. In terms of coverage, it turns out that the skeptical approach proved far superior in terms of getting it right. Countless mainstream sources were so confident in Obama's word that they reported many of the claims as fact, even attributing them to the president. Hi. So, clearly, the media is just latching on to anything they can and saying only what they're told, which is hilarious. Is that any surprise, really? No, I don't think so. So that's really all I have to report on. There's a lot more that could be said. I didn't even go into the fact that Osama bin Laden has been dead several times, and as far back as 2001 in December, either of natural causes or by an early missile strike. He has been reported dead by several different sources, by several different people, several years before this reported final death. Whether he's dead or not, the question really here is, why are they reporting it now? What does the media, the politicians, our current system have to gain by reporting it now, at this time? Because it seems rather convenient. Don't just hear it in the news and say, "Oh, well, I guess that's the fact. That's real." The news wouldn't lie, right? Just try to find other sources before you absorb it as truth to yourself. Because that's how a rational mind works. You don't just listen to one source and think that must be true. You look at multiple sources. You corroborate stories. This is how we have come so far as an intellectual species, is that we actually have rational thought. We actually have put together the scientific process before things become a fact accepted by the masses. It's scrutinized and ran over by different people, tested and tested and tested until it can be indisputable. And most of our information that's sent to us doesn't go through that rigorous scrutiny that it needs. So do your own scrutiny and find your own intelligence, and you will be informed. That is all. Meh.